And now I'd like to introduce a man who, I've read all his books. He is the world's leading voice on the importance of growing local. Please welcome Bill McKibben.
I got to say, I'm giving a couple of commencement addresses next month at the University of Maine and the University of Massachusetts, and I was thinking today that whenever you give a commencement address, it's a very particular kind of problem for speaking, because basically everybody who's there is just waiting for you to get done so they can get their diplomas, you know. And that's very much what it feels like tonight. I know that you're just waiting for me to finish. And so I will quickly, my only job here is to make the segue from the discussion of local food to the glory of local music. You know, it's a good thing that the Three Penny Tap Room is downstairs dispensing beer. That's where, in a sense, this kind of movement began. In the 1970s, in the UK, people began to say, the logic which had seemed impeccable up to that time, that everything would get bigger and shinier and more alike and more sanitary and whatever else. Somebody in the United Kingdom said, we're tired of this beer does not taste good like our beer used to. And they started this thing called the Campaign for Real Ale. And it swept across England, and suddenly there were hundreds of local breweries again. And then it leapt across the Atlantic, and we started this amazing thing of micro-breweries. And now at this point, you know, Vermont has, I think, more breweries per capita than any place in the world, which a very good claim to fame, you have to say, you know. And in fact, the local food movement, the kind of momentum around it in the last 10 years or so has been astonishing. I mean, there was a time, as you recall, when there really wasn't much of it at all before Michael Pollan, when only Wendell Berry, the great writer and essayist, was sort of spreading the word for years and years. And I'm very glad Wendell's lived long enough to see the changes that have come. Last year, the U.S. Department of Agriculture said, for the first time in 150 years, that the number of farms in the United States had increased instead of decreased. Nobody in this room, nobody's parents in this room, nobody's grandparents, nobody's great-grandparents had ever lived in an America where the number of farms was doing anything but shrinking. But now it's begun to climb again. And I think that that sort of heralds the same kind of logical shift all across our economies as we're beginning to rediscover that in a world that we can't take for granted in quite the same way, a world where we're running short of fossil fuel, a world where climate change and other things are beginning to press in on us, where the old ideas about constant growth and expansion and things are going to give way to a much more, a much more sensible concentration on durability and resiliency and on doing not the kind of hyper-consuming, hyper-individualist, whatever thing that we've been in for a long time, but on community and on neighborliness and on the things that Vermont's been a little more prone to keep than the rest of the country. And of course, one of the parts of that, one of the most important parts of that is art and music. It was a few years ago when I work a little bit at a college at Middlebury, and you know, in the last few years, you may not know this, but young people have begun to figure out how to use their computer machines to download music, you know, sometimes without asking permission and so on. And that's not good, you know, that's not good, but the heads of the music industry, the huge music companies, were getting upset about that. And I remember one of them testifying before Congress and basically saying, if this continues, you know, artists, Lady Gaga and Madonna and whatever, they'll have no incentive to produce music anymore because they won't be getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and music will disappear if this happens. And in fact, that seems unlikely. Really, one of the ways that anthropologists kind of almost define human communities, all back as far as you can go, are communities that make music. The only thing that'll change is the ways that we pay for it. And so it won't surprise you to know that the one part of the music industry that's been growing robustly for the last decade is local performance and festivals, is people doing music for each other, making music for each other. And no place more true than Vermont, and no performer more exemplifying that than Patti Casey. It's not... It's not that we have to be self-sufficient in everything. We don't. In fact, the American idea of constant self-sufficiency and self-reliance is probably a problem too. Just like with food, you don't really want to, have to be you don't really want to be sort of standing guard with your shotgun over your vegetable garden, sort of keeping your carrots from the marauding horde. You want a network of people that you can. The farmer's market in food is a wonderful thing, and the farmer's market in electrons is a wonderful thing as we get solar panels and small wind turbines and things out so we can connect each other. And in music, the same, sharing music back and forth. Around the country and around the world, it's no accident that Patti's new CD that we're here to celebrate tonight is already getting all kinds of play in other parts of the world. These things do leak out, and it's really good that they do, that those influences come in, that the kind of bluegrass, influence from other parts of the country could leak up here north, and we could put our own spin on it, that gospel music, which came from other places, could find a home and a new inflection in this place. All of that's good, that's right, that's what we need, but it's incredibly nice to think that we're also building this strong, tight, connected community right here. Able to celebrate itself, able to take the stories that we're writing in Vermont and spread them to each other. That's something kind of beautiful, and oddly enough, something kind of new. Obviously very old, that's how all human beings, that's what music was for a very long time, but we got away from that for a little while, and to see it kind of consciously coming back is something quite remarkable. I'm not going to bother introducing Patti Casey to you at great length. You all know all about her. You have followed her for years in her many projects and her many guises. This new CD is glorious. It's getting all kinds of attention. I saw on the web the other day that around the country it was the fourth most listened to and played folk music CD last month of anything around the country, which is great and magnificent, and to see it getting out there. But the thing that's luckiest and best for all of us is that we have her here close to home for occasions like this, and for occasions like the next few weeks when she's playing benefit after benefit, benefit to put up Pete's new barn, benefit for one thing after another, the kind of connections and the kind of community that music and food and everything else build together into one combined beautiful thing that we call Vermont. So with no further ado, if she's out there someplace with her band, it's time to welcome Patti Casey. Thank you all.
Thank you. There's a lot of you. I'm sorry for all of those of you who are standing. Sorry. Okay. Wander on, you weary soul. Walk through the heart of darkness, though you know not where to go. Wander on, you shall be free, as neither does the river know the way down to the sea. Snow falls all around, cold winds swirl and moan. Only cliff and crag and the failing light of day call forth as companions, and only peril leads the way. Wander on, you weary soul. Walk through the heart of darkness, though you know not where to go. Wander on, you shall be free, as neither does the river know the way down to the sea. Though cruel onward go, no rest from the endless toil, and you lay a crooked path stone by stone. You lay it all up mountain, you lay it all alone. Wander on, you weary soul. Walk through the heart of darkness, though you know not where to go. Wander on, you shall be free, as neither does the river know the way down to the sea. Wander on, you weary soul. Walk through the heart of darkness, though you know not where to go. Wander on, you shall be free, as neither does the river know the way down to the sea. Wander on, you weary soul. Walk through the heart of darkness, though you know not where to go. Wander on, you shall be free, as neither does the river know the way down to the sea. Oh, as neither does the river know the way down to the sea.
Patti Casey. She's the reason we're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a safe trip home, everybody.